here has been to Pittsburgh recently? Who here has been to Indianapolis? St. Louis? Okay, well, that's more than I thought. Indianapolis, did I say that one?
Yes.
Minneapolis. Well, in the past year, I've been to all these places. And you might say, John, why have you been to all these places? We always hear, if you want to travel, go to Australia, go to China, Korea, somewhere new. That's the way to do it. But me, I prefer the easier route. And what I've found out is there's a lot of stuff to see in America that a lot of us look past. We often think of America as the East Coast or the West Coast. And especially for people that are new to this country and for people that live here, I've found there's a lot to see just nearby. And the beauty of all these places is they're within a 6 or 7 hour drive. And it's best to go by car because when you drive, you stop in a lot of small towns along the way that are also very unique, and you get a real feel for the American life. Now, Pittsburgh, one of the places I was at recently, I was there when I was a kid, and I thought it was like a boring place, but when I went there recently, I was really impressed. I remember when I was with a friend of mine, we were driving into the city, and she said, it almost has a European feel to it. The thing about Pittsburgh is a lot of it is like built on a hill. So you have the downtown area, and then there's like a big high hill with all these like nice houses, and there's also like along 3 rivers. And it's actually really impressive. There's a lot of neat little trendy areas in the downtown part. And another thing about Pittsburgh, Mark, do you know what it is? Pittsburgh has pretty much the #1 rated baseball stadium in the whole country. Like pretty much everyone agrees upon it. And actually when we were there, we went to a Cubs game. And it is really cool. The Pittsburgh Stadium, it's a new stadium. It sits like across the river. The field kind of opens up into the downtown area. And everything about the park is like perfect. There's like all the seats are good, and it's really a great baseball park. Other stuff about, I don't want to sound like a give you a boring tourist thing about Pittsburgh, but has Frank Lloyd Wright's Falling Water, which is like one of his most famous houses. So there's a really lot of nice stuff in Pittsburgh that you might want to check out. Another place I was at recently was Indianapolis. Who's been there recently? Mark? Okay, well, another reason I go to these small towns is in medium-sized cities. I go to antique shops, so that's another thing I do beside. Indianapolis is actually pretty neat. It's 5 or 6 hours away. There's a lot of neat towns along the way. And a few of the things I remembered about Indianapolis was the Mall of America. Who's been to the Mall of America?
That's in Minneapolis.
Minneapolis. Right. Did I say Minneapolis?
I thought you said Indianapolis.
Oh.
You said
Well, I'm talking about Minneapolis.
Minneapolis.
Anyway, Minneapolis. They're both about the same distance. Minneapolis, 6 hours away, north, Indianapolis is south. But the thing about Minneapolis is with the Mall of America. When I was gonna first go there, I wasn't really excited about it. I'm not into shopping. I'm like Sophia, I have 20, 30 pieces of clothing, and that's it. I wasn't gonna buy a bunch of stuff, but I was like, well, we're there, we'll check it out. But actually, the Mall of America is really cool. It's a big mall, but the thing about it is it has this, the mall is built like in a big circle, and then in the middle is like this huge indoor amusement park with like roller coasters, like everything, a full-blown amusement park, and it's almost kind of surreal. It's like pretty cool. So that was cool about Minneapolis, and just like these other places, there's a lot of neat little towns. And another thing about Minneapolis, there's like cafes like everywhere. And another thing about all these American cities like Minneapolis, Pittsburgh, Indianapolis, St. Louis, they've all had kind of a renaissance maybe in the past few years. You know, the economy was down 10 years ago and they've all come up. So all these places have like their, you know, cafes and like places for different types of food, and they all have these like hipsters and artsy areas. So that was something about Minneapolis, and it's only, like I said, 6 hours away, and it also has a different feel because you kind of get out of the Midwest and it almost feels like you're in the north, like the northern part of the country. It's like maybe more mountains, so it's kind of neat to check out. My last place was St. Louis. Who's been to St. Louis recently?
Well,
St. Louis is pretty cool too. It's only, I think, 4 or 5 hours. I remember when I was a kid, I went to St. Louis, and one of the neat things about St. Louis is they have the St. Louis Arch. Has anyone heard of that?
Mm-hmm.
It's like a big arch. Has anyone been in it?
Yes, I was there. Long
Okay,
time
John.
ago.
Good, John. Well, for the St. Louis Arch,
Sounds great.
for like $10, you can actually ride a little thing, and it takes you up the arch and back this way. And St. Louis they have a lot of nice suburbs, and they have a thing we went to. It's like caves. These underground, I think they're called Mammoth Caves or something. They're actually pretty cool. I think Jesse James used to hang out there, and they have some wildlife and different stuff like that to see. Like I said, it's only 4 or 5 hours away. So just in closing, like I said, I'm talking about these American cities because a lot of us, especially if you're new to America or even people that have lived here a while, we think of the US of A as like the East Coast and the West Coast, and even when I was joking earlier about Mr. Trump, we wonder, well, why did he win? Because this country is not East Coast, it's not LA, it's not New York City, it's actually these small Midwestern cities, middle-sized cities that I'm talking about that really represent America. And also, if you happen to be living here for the first time, Sophia, it's a good way to actually check out the country and get a really good feel for what the U.S. is really like. And like I said, it's just a lot easier. It's a lot easier to rent a car for a day or two, take a little trip. If you're me and you work for Hilton, you can get cheap rooms. And it's just a lot easier, less hassle. Not to say that traveling abroad isn't something you should do. But if you want to see America, I suggest you do that. Thank you. Okay.